Earlier today, the Justice Department issued a statement which it essentially announced that they really no longer considered any of the questions surrounding what had long been the Epstein scandal to be worthwhile of investigation, that essentially all of these questions had been answered, that there's really nothing to look into. The Justice Department's own statement, which I think we have here, I guess we have the Axios article about it. No, this is the Justice Department statement itself, which they issued earlier today. They said this, quote, "As part of our commitment to transparency, the Department of Justice and the FBI have conducted an exhaustive review of investigative holdings relating to Jeffrey Epstein. To ensure that the review is thorough, the FBI conducted digital searches of its databases, hard drives, and network drives, as well as physical searches of squad areas, locked cabinets, desks, closets, and other areas where responsive material may have been stored. These searches uncovered a significant amount of material, including more than 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence. The files relating to Epstein include a large volume of images of Epstein, images and videos of victims who are either minors or appear to be minors, and over 10,000 downloaded videos and images of illegal child sex abuse material and other pornography. Only a fraction of this material would have been aired publicly had Epstein gone to trial, as the seal served only to protect victims and did not expose any additional third parties to allegations of illegal wrongdoing. The systemic review revealed no incriminating, quote, client list." So they're saying this client list that most Trump supporters, I would say, have been accusing the Biden administration, the US government, of hiding to protect all the powerful people on this list. Now that they're in power, people like Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, now that they're in charge, now they're saying, no, actually, there is no client list at all. There's at least no incriminating client list, whatever that means. I don't know if there is a client list or not, but according to them, there's no incriminating client list. I don't know how you can have a client list that's not incriminating. To be a client of Jeffrey Epstein seems inherently incriminating. They seem to have said at the White House briefing today, when asked about this, because as we'll show you, Pam Bondi went on Fox News and was asked, "Are you going to release the client list?" And she said, "It's sitting on my desk for review." Trump had strongly suggested he would order it released. Now they're basically saying, you know what, there is no client list. They go on, quote, "There was also no credible evidence found that Jeffrey Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions." So all these claims that Jeffrey Epstein had recordings of prominent individuals who he invited to his island, who had sex with minors. Evidently, there's no incriminating material of any kind that would implicate any powerful person. Just not there. They checked the storage closets. They looked under the beds. Just couldn't find anything. All the stuff they had been claiming was there for years, screaming and pounding the table on podcasts, making a lot of money over it too. Accusing the Biden officials of hiding this all for corrupt ends. Just not there. They looked, couldn't find it. They go on, "We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties." So let's just think about that as well. So far, 2 people have been arrested. A grand total of 2 people have been arrested and charged in connection with this entire Jeffrey Epstein ring. Jeffrey Epstein himself, who never faced trial because, according to the Department of Justice, he committed suicide, somehow found a way to commit suicide in a federal prison despite being a very high-profile defendant who had been ordered on suicide watch, still found a way to commit suicide. And Ghislaine Maxwell, who was accused of being basically his, I guess you could say, the trafficker, the person who trafficked girls for him. But apparently this is all just for Jeffrey Epstein. There's no other person for whom these girls were trafficked, to whom they were trafficked, who had sex with these girls. There's nobody to investigate. Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted. She's in prison for 20 years. She pled guilty. Jeffrey Epstein is dead. That's the end of it. Those are the only 2 people who are implicated by all of this, according to the Trump DOJ. They go on, quote, "After a thorough investigation, the FBI investigators concluded that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City on August 10th, 2019. This conclusion is consistent with previous findings. It lists a variety of autopsy reports. It says the conclusion that Epstein died by suicide is further supported by video footage from the common area of the special housing unit where Epstein was housed at the time of his death. As DOJ's Inspector General explained in 2023, meaning Joe Biden's administration, anyone entering or attempting to enter the tier where Epstein's cell was located from the SHU common area would have been captured by this footage. Now, one of the issues has always been, if Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide, was this done with the assistance or encouragement of people who worked in the prison? I mean, if you go and talk to any prisoner, I don't mean high-profile prisoners, in one of New York's most significant federal prisons in Manhattan, but you go just talk to prisoners who have done 2 years, 3 years for things like armed robbery or whatever in state prisons, ordinary state prisons, they'll describe all the different methods used by the prison to prevent you from killing yourself. The sheets that are used, the lack of beams to make you hang yourself, the surveillance, the monitoring. I'm not saying it never happens, but how is it that federal prisons cannot prevent high-profile prisoners who obviously are the subject of a lot of intense public concern from committing suicide, especially when doing so would obviously create this kind of scandal, this obviously valid doubt that a lot of people have. He was associated with endless numbers of the most powerful people on the planet. And the FBI and DOJ, again, led by people who weren't suggesting that perhaps there are incriminating facts being held or hid by the U.S. government, but insisting that they know they are, promising and vowing that if Trump wins and they get into power, they're going to make sure the public sees it all. They're going to expose the truth that has been so corruptly hidden. They get into power, I mean real power, leading the FBI, leading the Justice Department, and they're like, oh, we looked in storage closets, looked around, saw some CDs, we looked, there's nothing on there. It's exactly what the government always said. He committed suicide. There was no big blackmail ring. There's no one to protect. There's no client list. There's no evidence that any powerful people ever had sex with these girls underage. There's nothing. We looked. Don't worry. Time to move on. Nothing to see here. Case closed. Here's the footage from the prison in which Jeffrey Epstein was held that the Justice Department released. It's from August 9th, 2019, which is the day that he killed himself, designed to show that nobody was coming in and out at the time of the suicide. And there's a 1 minute gap in the video that other people have observed. I don't think the DOJ has been asked about this yet. I don't know what their explanation is. Maybe there's a good explanation. But there is a 1 minute gap. It goes from 11:58:56 p.m. and then you'll see it jump 57, 58, right to midnight. So there's a 1 minute, 2 second gap. And obviously this is the kind of thing that fuels people's speculation that things are being hidden. Here is a video where President Trump was interviewed just 2 months before the election with the incredibly dynamic, super charismatic, always very insightful and innovative Lex Friedman. Just a basket of energy and charisma. Totally see why he just exploded out of nowhere and became this major podcast host. And he was interviewing President Trump. It was a pretty friendly interview. And he asked him about the Epstein case. And here's what President Trump said just 2 months before the election.
But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. You know, they do that for danger, too, because, you know, endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But, yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
So, you know, that's that. And I think what is important here, too, is that you probably remember this preposterous, deceitful spectacle that took place in February, a month after the inauguration when the administration was in power, when Pam Bondi and Kash Patel invited multiple Trump influencers. Libs of TikTok was one, Mike Cernovich was another, Jack Posobiec was another. And they went thinking they were being given what they were promised, which was new, revealing, previously hidden and unknown documents shedding light on what happened with Jeffrey Epstein. Who were the people to whom these girls were trafficked? Which very prominent people went to the island and had sex with girls? Did Jeffrey Epstein work with or for a foreign or domestic intelligence agency? This, for me, is one of the most important questions, if not the most important question, which I would note the Justice Department very conspicuously did not address today. They didn't deny that he had. They said Jeffrey Epstein didn't blackmail anybody. Did the intelligence agencies with whom or for whom he worked blackmail anybody using this material? They didn't say. But these people were not going around saying, I think maybe there's something here, perhaps we should take a look. They were saying, no. There is explosive, incriminating evidence of serious wrongdoing by very powerful people. For that reason, these materials are being hidden by the U.S. government and Western governments to protect them. Here's Pam Bondi on Sean Hannity's show on Fox News in January of 2024. And it was when Jeffrey Epstein documents were unsealed by a court, and they were discussing that in the incoming Trump administration. And here's what she said.
I want to know why AG Garland and the Justice Department are so quiet on this tonight. You know, they're out there labeling parents domestic terrorists, yet they're saying nothing about this. And these documents were so slow to come out. Human trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar business in this country, and Jeffrey Epstein is dead, and Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for 20 years where she belongs. And if people in that report are still fighting to keep their names private, Sean, they have no legal basis to do so unless they're a child, a victim, or a cooperating defendant by some chance against some potential case against Ghislaine Maxwell. And I think Mark Garagos, as a great criminal defense attorney, will back that up as well.
So this is actually January of 2024. So this was, I'm about to show you one from February 2025. But that was from January 2024. So this was while the Biden administration was still in power. And she was obviously implying strongly that they were keeping these documents concealed because they're powerful people who they were trying to protect. And she was attacking the Biden administration for releasing these documents so slowly, for not being interested in this case, for not revealing to the public the truth. In February of 2025 rather, while Pam Bondi was the Attorney General, she had been confirmed just a little bit before that, she went on Fox News, of course, to talk about the Epstein files as well as the Justice Department's priorities. And they asked her about the Epstein file and the client list. And here's what she said.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't know why people behave that way in cable news. It's just kind of weird. But the question was, will the Trump DOJ release the client list? And she said it's sitting on my desk. And now the same Pam Bondi, the same Justice Department that she leads, in its release today, which I read you, said there is no such thing as a client list. There's no incriminating client list they found. So obviously the question that even a lot of conservative reporters had, and a lot of conservatives are very upset about this, very angry about this, very bewildered by it, and not just conservative journalists, but Trump influencers as well, as I said, except for the hardcore, just like brainless cultists who I believe are in some way paid to just constantly defend Donald Trump no matter what he does. or maybe they're just actual cult members on their own. There's a lot of money going around, both DNC influencers and Trump influencers, but some are certainly doing it just out of cause or belief. I don't know which is worse. But Steve Doocy of Fox News and other journalists asked Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, like, hey, Pam Bondi said in February, when asked, are you going to release the client list? She said, yes, and it's sitting on my desk for review. And then she comes out today and says, don't worry, there's no client list. We don't have any client list to show you. And here's what Caroline Leavitt said when trying to reconcile those two things.
So the FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars. They have an operation going on right now called Summer Heat, which has our murder rate trending in the lowest direction in United States history.
All right, I'm going to play the rest of this, but I just want you to see what happened there. So the question was very, very clear, very specific, very precise. Will you release the client list? This client list has become kind of like a fable of right-wing discourse. There's a client list out there, probably has the name Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, who knows who else? Lex Wexner, the billionaire who apparently transferred Jeffrey Epstein billions of dollars that fed his lifestyle. And he's a big, big supporter of a certain foreign country and all of its various arms that exert influence in the United States. And the idea was that there's a client list, and that client list is sort of the Rosetta Stone for deciphering the corruption and evil of globalism and globalists. And that's why it's being so aggressively shielded. So when Fox News asked Pam Bondi, who has been trafficking in Epstein discourse for years, are you going to release the client list? It's not like she misunderstood the question. She understood exactly what that meant. She said, it's sitting on my desk. Now, I understand the claim that, she didn't really mean that, even though that was exactly what the question was. She kind of meant just like in general, I have Epstein documents sitting on my desk, but that's not what was asked. That's not what was said. And again, they were accusing Biden officials of the most heinous cover-ups and crimes based on far less incriminating behavior than the kind you're seeing here. But watch how quickly Caroline Leavitt wants to get away from the Epstein files, which again had center stage in MAGA and right-wing discourse for 4 years at least. And she immediately just starts, when she gives, that's out of context, she then immediately says, but look at all this great stuff we're doing here to fight crime, which is obviously is the ultimate tactic of distraction.
And the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars. They have an operation going on right now called Summer Heat, which has our murder rate trending in the lowest direction in United States history. Their emphasis on violent crime and locking up violent criminals has led to the arrest of 14,000 violent criminals. That's a 62% increase from the same time period last year. So this Attorney General and the FBI Director are committed to putting bad people behind bars where they belong. They promised an exhaustive review. That's what they did. For any further details, I would refer you to the Department of Justice.
Okay, that's not what they promised. They did not promise an exhaustive review. They promised to release the documents that they said were being corruptly hidden. Here's Alina Habba, who was Trump's personal attorney. She was then nominated by him to be the U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey. And she went on Piers Morgan in February this year, just 3 months ago. Caroline Leavitt just said today, all that was promised was an exhaustive review, and that's what you got. You didn't get any documents, you didn't get any facts, you didn't get any secrets that were hidden, even though we've been saying for years they were. You didn't get any of that because we didn't promise that. We only promised an exhaustive review, and we did an exhaustive review. We looked in every closet, we looked in every, like the announcement said, under the beds, we looked, wherever, like it might be in broom closets. We scoured all the DOJ, all the FBI, and didn't find anything. Here's what Alina Habba told Piers Morgan was going to happen now that the Trump administration was in power with regard to the Epstein files.
Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
Okay, listen. Caroline Leavitt today said all that you were promised was an exhaustive review. Here's what Alina Habba told Piers Morgan was actually the promise of what was going to come out.
Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable. Let's talk about the reverse. I believe in accountability. So you have to now go through your process. Now, I won't say they're guilty until they go through their time in court. But again, now it's time for accountability. We have seen for so many years, Pierce, in this country, many investigations, subpoenas, testimonies in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a general frustration with accountability. We take it halfway, we don't take it home. And I really believe that now with Cash and Pam, there will be accountability.
Cash and Pam are in charge. There's a new sheriff in town. And all these people, now that Cash and Pam are there, all these powerful people that she said are directly implicated in these files who have never been held accountable, their identities are no longer going to be concealed. That's what she said. She said there's flight logs, there's lists of people who were involved who have never been held accountable, and all this stuff is coming out. That was the promise that you were given, not just that there was going to be a quote-unquote exhaustive review. Here's Dan Bongino on the Dan Bongino Show, one of the most popular shows in the country. It was exclusively on Rumble. It had an audience of hundreds of thousands of people, often bigger than any of the cable shows on at the same time. Very influential show. This is just one. I could show you dozens, probably hundreds of clips of Dan talking about this case. I don't know. This is May 2023, so probably didn't know necessarily that he was going to end up running the FBI with Kash Patel, but now he is. So here's what he had to say.
Listen, that Jeffrey Epstein story is a big deal. Please do not let that story go. Keep your eye on this. Catherine Rumler, we need to keep the heat on this case, folks. There are a lot of people who are knee deep in the Washington swamp who are not telling you the truth about serious allegations out there that Epstein may have had video and audio of people out there doing things they shouldn't have been doing. And you should be asking yourself the question, how is it that all these people, the CIA director, the Obama fixer, Bill Clinton, all intersected paths with Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein isn't with us anymore, and nobody seems to want to talk about it outside of a few entrepreneurial media outlets saying, hey, this is a big deal.
It's a big deal, big deal. And there's all these things going on that are hidden that you ought to know about. And he said, we need to keep the pressure on. We need to keep demanding that the people in charge release this and tell us about it. He's one of the people in charge. And he went on that Fox News interview 6 weeks ago with Kash Patel, both of whom have been going around essentially saying they don't believe in any way, shape, or form that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, and in a very strange, almost forced hostage video-like way, they're like, yeah, we've seen the proof that Jeffrey Epstein, he killed himself. There's no doubt about it. He killed, nobody else involved. He killed himself. He killed himself. Here was Kash Patel, the current FBI director, with Benny Johnson in December of 2023.
You know, it's the same thing with Epstein's list. It's like, what the hell are these Republicans doing? Oh,
I saw you
give out the list.
I saw you make news this morning about that. I got to get to that.
Yeah.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list. You don't think that Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list?
No, but as it turns out, there's no list. They were sure there's a list. They were pretty sure Bill Gates is on it. That's obviously what they were implying. Very, very strong. Not really implying, actually saying Bill Gates is at Congress lobbying for that list not to come out. They're hiding the list. The list that these very people, same people, came out today and said does not exist. Are privacy concerns keeping you up at night? Privacy is extremely important for every human being. Sam Altman recently announced that ChatGPT can now reference all your past conversations, feeding on your conversations, storing them, analyzing them, reacting to them, shaping the responses based on them. Do you feel comfortable knowing that an AI platform chaired by a former intelligence official has access to all your thoughts and dreams? Luckily, there's a promising alternative. It's Venice AI. Venice AI lets you use AI without handing over your sensitive information. They utilize leading open source AI models to deliver text code and image generation directly to your web browser, and the interface looks really impressive. There's no downloads, no installations, and your conversation history is stored only in your browser, keeping your privacy intact. With Venice AI, you can ask it to explore stimulating hypotheticals about future events, generate images without restrictions, upload PDFs for summaries, and even modify how Venice interacts with you. And with their Pro plan, you can do all of that without any limitations. I've used Venice AI, and I do think it's a game changer, especially on the privacy grounds. I can ask it anything without worrying about my data being shared or my inquiries being saved on some server. It's very versatile. It allows me to switch between different models and generate unique images. If you want to use AI without fear of handing over your most intimate thoughts, you can get 20% off of a pro plan using my link, venice.ai/Glenn. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Click the link in the description and use the code Glenn to get started today. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.